The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.
Good morning, mga Katipuneros. Good morning, good morning. It's a Wednesday, June 13, 2018. And kumusta po kayong lahat, mga Katipuneros? Yes, fellow Ateneans here and abroad. And of course, we greet all our Ateneo Alumni Associations based in the US and in Canada. Okay, so balik po tayo sa ating programa after more than a week of bakasyon, and last week we spent a lot of time improving hopefully our programming, our services, our equipment here at the Radyo Katipunan. So we're back, and of course it's a rainy day, it's a rainy Wednesday. Ingat-ingat po tayo. And as always, we will begin with a prayer. Today, my dear friends, is the feast day of one of the favorite saints of Filipinos. Yes, it's the feast day of San Antonio de Padua. Just a trivia, he was not born Antonio. Okay, so his original name was Fernando Martins. And yet, when he joined the Franciscans, he adopted the name of Saint Anthony of Egypt. Wow, nag-research ako niyan. So, yan po si San Antonio de Padua. Okay, so he is known for helping us when we have lost anything. Yun, And if you're a lost cause as well, so please ask Saint Anthony of Padua to pray for you. And so we begin our prayer. O holy Saint Anthony, you are known for the power and abundance of your miracles. Jesus came into your arms as a humble little child. Pray for me to the child Jesus for my needs and desires. In imitation of our Lord, you have great mercy and compassion for sinners. Pay no attention to my unworthiness, but instead ask God to show His glory through the answer of my requests. Saint Anthony, you cooperated with the grace of God in a radical way with your life. You gave everything to Christ and to your neighbor. Your life glorified God. You are an example of holiness that I will try to follow. You are in heaven, praising God with a particular closeness to the King of Kings. With your seat of honor, please beg God to both answer my request and bring me to eternal rest with you. Amen. Saint Anthony of Padua, pray for us. Okay, good morning po. So that's our prayer, our opening prayer. And we, of course, appeal for the help of Saint Anthony of Padua. Yes, kumusta po kayong lahat? We have our guest for today, this morning, and we are so fortunate. Kasi nga po, I thought he would be late. Kasi galing pa po siya sa misa. Ang sipag-sipag po nitong ating guest for today. In fact, kaya siya nangangayahayat, di ba? Okay. So, kaibigan po namin, of course, dito sa Jesuit Communications because he was our boss before. Yan naman. And now, however, he is president of the East Asia Pastoral Institute, which is not just a ministry of the Philippine province, but the whole Jesuit region in Asia Pacific. Yes. So please welcome Father Peter Pojol as J. Good morning, Father Peter.
Good morning. Good morning, Father Nono. Good morning to all our listeners.
Yes, at of course, ayan, Father, may mga bumabati na sa atin. Of course, si Julius. Lester, of course. Lester, you remember Lester?
Lester
JMM. Yes,
of course.
Congratulations nga pala sa concert niyo, Father.
No, and thanks for also being there.
I was getting nervous because it was
very rainy.
Yes.
That day.
Akala ko nga wala nang pupunta, no? And yet talagang may appeal ang Himig Jesuit. So congratulations, they had their concert last Saturday po sa mga pumunta. Thank you so much. So Lester, of course, is the director of Jesuit Music Ministry, and he's celebrating his birthday today, Father.
Oh, today?
Yes.
Oh, happy birthday, Lester.
So he's greeting you, magandang umaga raw.
Oh.
Okay, we also greet Karen Sukayan, and do you know him? Karen Sukayan,
No.
sabi niya, good to see you po, Father Peter Pojol. So she knows you. Okay, so Father, una raw, pinapatanong ng JESCOM staff.
Yes.
What's your regimen in terms of diet and physical exercise? Kasi raw, maganda ang yung pangangatawan.
Nako, well, you kind of inferred to it a little bit in the beginning. It's not deliberate that I've kept this weight. No, I basically.
You're just so busy.
Yeah, I
really?
think so.
I mean, no tips on the diet that we can follow?
Well, I've never really taken to taking
meat.
No snacks. No, in between meals. So maybe that helps. And whenever I have the chance, I walk to places I need to walk to. So for my masses, if they're within 30 minutes walk from wherever I am, I try to walk.
Okay, just to introduce a bit Father Peter Paul, those who do not know him, he graduated from UP po, with a
College,
degree,
yes. Engineering,
electrical engineering, So, Father, what happened to you?
I saw the light.
Nakuryente. Ayun, ang ganda nun. Parang Meralco lang, So you saw the light. So, you never got the chance to practice.
No, I didn't even get to take my board exam.
How was
immediately after?
Okay, how was the road for you? How was the road back to the Lord? Was it through UP SEA or is that?
Well, ICTUS is similar to SEA. ICTUS is a student organization, very active. Also doing catechism. And when I started in UP, my first 2 years, I avoided any kind of student activity. But then by my third year, I got very involved in ICTUS, and that was really where I found my vocation.
But of course, you graduated from Xavier School.
Yes,
and
in
that's
high school.
so Jesuit.
Yes.
But
and it helped that there were also plenty of Ateneo High School graduates at in ICTUS in UP. So I found my
kindred
way there.
spirits. Yes. Okay. So that's your way back to the Lord and to the vocation, to the priesthood.
Yes.
Okay. So Father, here at the Jesuit Hour, we feature the ministries, the various ministries of the Society of Jesus in the Philippines. Let's talk about EAPI, the East Asia Pastoral Institute. How long have you been director or president of EAPI, Father?
Yeah, I started as director 1st of July last year. So it's going to be 1 year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, by the end of this month. No? So I'm very new. And but EAPI has been around for more than 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so shortly after the Jesuits were kicked out along with many others who were working in the church in China, mainland China, when the communists took over in 1949. Some of the Jesuits, as some of you may know, came to the Philippines, came to Taiwan, and other parts of Asia. And in particular, Father Hoffinger came to Manila and started what at that point it was like a catechetical institute, but it was really inspired by the vision of Vatican II, which happened a few years later. So by the time of the Second Vatican Council, EAPI had already been formed. It took the name officially 1961, I think, or 62, and then has been serving the region of Asia and the Pacific. No? So not just East Asia. Although the name is East Asian Pastoral Institute, it has broadened to serve really Asia, including South Asia, East Asia, and Oceania. But actually now we have a few participants even from Africa.
And it's part of the work of Jacob.
Yes,
Jesuit Conference of Asia Pacific.
so we are directly under the Jesuit Conference of Asia Pacific. And so in that sense, I'm no longer working within the
Vatican II, no? In particular, what will be the vision or the mission of EAPI?
So one of the key insights of Vatican II is that the church is really and should be a participatory church.
Participatory.
Yeah, so a church that involves and is sustained by the active participation of everyone. Laity, as you probably know, in the Second Vatican Council, was affirmed. No, their role in the church was very strongly affirmed, but not just the laity. No, so leadership in the church is really something that is at the service of everyone else. No, so that kind of vision of church that is led by the Spirit and believing that the Spirit also speaks through everyone in the church and even outside the church. So that whole vision of dialogue, of participation, of being led by the Spirit, that's the vision that EAPI would like to promote among
and in terms of
pastoral workers.
Concrete work, how does EAPI pursue those?
So over the years, EAPI has run several programs. No? And since it is really about a participatory church, it's essential for EAPI to run residential programs, meaning the participants live together and form a community. So it's like experiencing, living out the very vision of church that Vatican II would like us to be. No? So our residential programs over the years, it has varied, no? But right now we run residential programs that are either 4 months or 6 months long. And so currently we run 2 programs in parallel, no? Each season, no? Each 4-month or 6-month season. Right now we're coming to the end of our 6-month season, which started in January, and so by the end of June we will have our missioning mass to complete the 2 programs. So we always offer a pastoral program and then a sabbatical program.
So parang ano, Father, they go back to school.
Yes. So essentially, EAPI caters to pastoral workers who have been in the field. So it's important for us to accept participants who've had some experience. In fact, our minimum requirement is that these participants have had 3 years at least of experience.
Working for the church in their countries.
Yes. So, and about 95% of our participants are not from the Philippines.
Wow.
So they're really very international.
Yeah.
So of these participants who come, so they've had each experience working in the field, and one could see EAPI's work as very similar to what in other careers or professions is continuing education.
Yung mga sabbatical, Father?
Yes.
Diba?
Yeah, so sabbatical, so the difference that we highlight between the pastoral program and the sabbatical program, although all our programs aim for an experience of renewal and an experience of updating, there's a greater emphasis on updating and learning in the pastoral programs in terms of skills that can be very directly applicable to their works. No? And then for the sabbatical program, there's a greater emphasis on getting in touch with the self. Both programs are also focused on deepening one's spiritual experience, which should be at the core of our work, our pastoral work. But the sabbatical program gives more attention to wholeness, healing, and therefore attracts people who are much older, people who have had many more years in ministry, and some of them, not all of them, but some of them come to us already tired, exhausted, maybe nearing burnout. So
dapat pala pumunta na ako sa inyo.
Yeah, so you're welcome. But so sabbatical really is how we see ourselves is that we care for the pastoral workers.
Okay. But Father, your focus is not people from or pastoral workers from the Philippines, but rather from the region.
Yeah. So
why is that?
Well, I don't know if it was by
design.
By design, but I think they really did go out of their way to recruit participants from outside, no?
Yeah.
But the fact is, because we are a Catholic country, we have many resources,
yes,
no? But in
you have many competitors here.
also, but actually, EAPI seems to be alone in what we do, no? Because many of the institutions that are here in the Philippines, they offer degree programs, certificate programs that are much longer.
Yes,
no?
yes.
But in EAPI, we offer relatively short programs and short courses. No? And when I, in my 1 year of being with the participants in EAPI, I discovered that many of them come from situations and contexts, church contexts, that are quite challenged
really?
By the resources that are available. That they find it hard to even something as for us taken for granted as resources in library or even computer. There are still some countries where church workers don't have internet access.
Yeah.
So these are many of the things that we take for granted that we make available to these pastoral workers who come to us.
In this 6-month period, Father, how many students do you accept?
So
and where do they come from ordinarily?
Yeah, so currently we have around 60 participants in each, we can call it semester, no? So, but 4 months or 6 months. And of the 60 or so participants, roughly half are from East Asia. So what type of countries?
60 for both the programs?
Altogether. Altogether.
Okay.
So the countries from East Asia who come to us, of course, there's Philippines, Vietnam, China, Myanmar, Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia,
Papua New Guinea.
Well, that's Oceania. So that's East Asia, no? So about 50%. Then we have from South Asia, 25%. So they're from India, many from Bangladesh, and then Sri Lanka. No? Once in a while we get from Pakistan. No? But as you can imagine, these are minority churches. No? And then from Oceania, so you mentioned Papua New Guinea, which is a big sending country to us. No? Papua New Guinea, but they're also confronting very serious challenges. So aside from Papua New Guinea, we have maybe to us here in the Philippines, less known countries of Micronesia, Tonga, Fiji. No? So the
big guys.
The big guys coming from small islands.
Yes.
And so that's Oceania, another 20%. No? But then we have a few, as I mentioned earlier, coming from Africa. Once in a while, like this coming program that will begin in August, we have someone from Germany.
Wow.
A diocesan priest from Germany. Once in a while, people from Europe, they are very interested in the church in Asia. Many everywhere they recognize that the church in Asia is growing. So they want to come and know more about the church here. So we have someone from Germany and someone also from France who's coming.
So you can say, Father, that there's a pattern. Number one, they come from countries where the Christians are a minority. And number two, would you say that countries that are considered developing, except of course for China and India?
Yeah.
Kasi walang from Singapore, walang pupunta.
Well, once in a while we have Malaysia, Indonesia. Yeah. So, but many, you're right, many more, come from the countries that are really challenged.
And the only thing that is common among them is the Catholic faith.
Yes.
So I can just imagine the interaction. Talagang various. They come from various cultures, very colorful cultures.
In fact, that's one of the few points that keep coming up, no, when we talk to people who finished the API, our alumni, when we ask them, what do you remember and what do you cherish about your experience at the API? One of the very first things, of course, is an experience of spiritual conversion. No, we're happy that they, because, well, many of them probably are also so exhausted in the field, that they, as we all know, one of the things that gets lost in the way is prayer. So EAPI offers that space for prayer. We also offer spiritual direction. Some of them have not had spiritual direction. So, and then we also make sure that they get an experience of a retreat, an 8-day retreat, a silent retreat.
So you get to offer them, Father, Ignatian spirituality, because many of these are not, of course, connected with the Jesuits in Asia.
Yes.
Wow.
So they've had experience of retreat. Some of them have some familiarity with Ignatian spirituality, but most of them have not had exposure to Ignatian spirituality. So when they say they've had a retreat, many times they tell us it's not a silent retreat. So spirituality is one of their key memories of EAPI. But the other one, you were talking about culture, is this experience of interculturality.
Yes.
Plenty of people appreciate that because, for one, many of them come from situations where all their lives they've been just in their country,
like us.
Yes. So,
and we're so used to many things that you say we take for granted. The Sunday masses, because we're a Catholic country.
Correct. So over there, even just table conversation can be very enriching.
I can imagine, and deep and profound.
And of course, our programs, when we run our programs and we conduct, many of them we conduct groups to share and to work together. Then they have that opportunity to explore many more things about the church in different parts of.
So Father, I can just imagine what kind of food do you serve? Iba-ibang
yes, the food, I must admit, is still, the cooks are all Filipino, so they're treated to mostly Filipino food. But I guess over the years, the cooks who have been there long, maybe they picked up some tips from some of the different countries and cultures that are represented. So once in a while, I can taste a different touch. But then, as often happens, these participants prepare and bring their own pickles or yung mga hot spicy.
Mahilig sa spicy food.
Not all, but some are, and so they bring it out, they share it at table, and so it's very, very interesting.
Have you considered, Father, the impact that the API has made in the churches in Asia through your work?
Well, since it's been in existence for many years now, and we actually now we know that many churches in Asia and the Pacific point to some connection with the API. We've been fortunate to have been part of the formation of some bishops. Some are, of course, our most famous alumnus is Cardinal Charles Bo of Myanmar. So Cardinal Bo is also very proud to have been a participant at the API. When he was at the API, he was still a priest. But many of our current participants say that their superiors, their bishops came through EAPI at one point or another. And so they say proudly that some of these started programs and started structures in their respective churches and congregations that do try to promote the vision of Vatican II for a participatory church.
I have a friend, Father Dennis Uba. He is connected with Caritas Australia, but he's been assigned to Papua New Guinea, and he writes me that he works with people in Papua New Guinea
who came from EBI.
Yes, yes. In fact, he asked me for the email of Father Jojo Fung because they remember Father Jojo Fung, this former alumni, and
Jojo still works with us.
Yes, and they want to. I think they were able to set up a meeting.
Okay.
Jojo Fung pumunta siya ng Papua New Guinea. Yes.
Good.
So ano raw po, Father? It's been pleasant working with people
coming from EAPI.
Yes. So malaki talaga yung service, 50 years. Ano? Would you know how many students have you nag-graduate na dyan?
It's in the thousands. Yeah.
Wow.
So we before they used to run even shorter programs. There used to be like 1 month program, 2 months program. So plenty of people have gone through EAPI. That's the one big concern of EAPI, running these residential programs. But at the same time, we recognize that it's not easy for people to leave their places of ministry to be away even for just 4 months. That's sometimes it's a luxury to get permission from your superior to be out from your post.
Pag burnout na lang at nagwawala na.
Yeah. So what we do is, and this is something that's a little more recent, what we call an extension program. So while we have residential programs that we run here in EAPI where people have to leave their places of origin and come to EAPI, spend some time with us, and then return, we try to also go out to where the churches are.
Wow.
And then offer consultancy services. So right now we've had some involvement with Myanmar and also with Papua New Guinea. We've also had some engagements with Vietnam. We of course select institutions or dioceses. It helps to have the diocese, the bishop supporting it. So in Myanmar, we are serving the Diocese of Myitkyina in the north.
Wow.
And there's also a school there, a catechetical school in Myitkyina that is our partner.
So, Father, you send your faculty or teachers?
So our resource persons, so we send a handful, we send over to these partner institutes or dioceses, and then they either run modules, maybe 1 week or a weekend.
Wow.
Of course, it's expensive, and therefore we can't do it so frequently. And part of my job is also to look for funding for that.
We'll talk about that in a while.
Yes, and then of course, yes, and then some of the services would be as simple as giving them help and advice in terms of strategic planning. Because many of these institutions have never had that opportunity to really carefully plan, study their context, their situation, identify the problems, and then identify the solutions.
Wow.
So that's what we try to do by our extension program.
Father, it's been a year since you've been president or director of EAPI, and living with these students from various cultures, from various churches in Asia, ano po yung nakikita niyong parang, what would be your realization kumbaga tungkol sa ating simbahan sa Asia? Because definitely the church in Asia is very, very different from the church in Europe or the church in the US of A, di ba? Parang sa atin, ibang-iba talaga eh.
In Asia, because many, as you already mentioned, many of them come from minority situations where the Catholic Church is a minority and sometimes operating under a repressive government. Like in Myanmar, although officially it's not under the military junta anymore, but in practical purposes it is. So you have that, or in Vietnam or in China.
Pakistan.
Yes, so lalo na. Now India is... the extremism is on the rise, fundamentalism. So with all this variety, it's really clear that the church is very diverse. No? And
So diversity.
yes, and also the church is very alive. Many of them, no, even if they come from all these different situations, they express a very strong desire for renewal. And it makes me admire them even more because their situations are very difficult.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's inspiring, really, to see the kind of vigor that they bring. And then we all the more would like to make our resources available for them. No? So that's the one thing that I find very striking. No? The vigor, the vitality in many of the churches, and also because they're the minority, a greater sense of how the Spirit, how God works even beyond the church. No? So that's something that I think we can learn from here.
Parang yung Father, yung mga tao dyan sa EAPI, it lends special meaning to the word Catholicity, no? Diba?
Exactly.
That we are a big church, diverse.
And also that God is even bigger than us.
Yeah,
yun, grabe yun. You really see that. No? And the diversity really just shows us, we cannot just encapsulate in very clear formulas our experience of God. So,
okay, we will take a short break, Father, pero binabati ka ni Jay Halili.
Oy,
naman.
Jay.
Sabi ni Jay Halili, best bossing ever. Oy, talaga. Sip. And then our good friend Paterno Ismael of Rappler.com is also watching us. And si Kang Sonsa, talaga naman. Pero agree raw siya na best bossing ever. Gusto ko ng warm shout out, Father Manuel, Alfonso, lamig sa office, especially dahil maulan. Hi, Kang. Sa Makati na siya. Si Kang ngayon ay nasa Makati. Career woman yan.
Wow.
Thank you so much for watching. Okay, we will just take a short break, mga Katipuneros. Sandali lamang po.
Good morning, Ateneo. Start your day right with your morning wake-up call. Good morning, Ateneo. Energize your day with the lively, funny, and lovely tandem of Mir de los Santos and Tats Kidlat. Catch the latest news and stories around the campus. Good morning, Ateneo. Your daily dose of Radio Chikahan, Tawanan, Kantahan, and Kwentuhan. Every morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Tuesdays to Fridays. Good morning, Ateneo. Your mornings will never be the same again. Basil Valdez, the Apo Hiking Society, Parokya ni Edgar, Bukas Palad, the Ateneo Glee Club, and many more. All homegrown talents at the Ateneo de Manila University. Get to know the current music environment at the Ateneo. Tune in to Himig Ateneo. Himig Ateneo. Listen to the Blue Eagles sing. Himig Ateneo.
The fire we reported at the old fire hall is still burning out.
Do you sometimes feel confused or lost in the complications and complexities of life? Do you feel drained, listless, or exhausted from the daily burdens and responsibilities? Why not seek our campus ministers on air every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3 in the afternoon? Listen to our counselors from the Loyola School's Campus Ministry Office as they ground our lives in our faith, in our school's spiritual tradition. Campus Ministers on Air. Be guided, be inspired, be blessed. Listen to our Campus Ministers on Air. Look back and look forward. Reminisce and recharge. Radyo Katipunan's Return to the Hill will lead you down memory lane and back to the future with distinguished guests from our alumni. Let us now return to the hill. Are you feeling sore? We can make that better. Tune in to the Ateneo Senior High School's first radio program, Soar, the Seniors On Air Radio, where you can listen to music you want straight from our playlists. Catch our hot tracks every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. Don't change that channel yet, because Soar is ready to put the you in youth. Soar. Seniors On Air. Here on Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM. Welcome to The Rundown, where we take you right into the action with the latest sports news, updates, game previews, breakdown, and analysis in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. And now, let's get ready to run down! Meron? Ano nga ba ang meron? Paano nga bang mabuhay ng tapat sa meron? Don't you wish you can relive your philo classes? The terror teachers? The terrible oral exams? Or the even terrifying but liberating and life-changing aha moments? Lundagin mo, baby! Here's your chance! Lundagin mo, baby! Kasama ang mga pilosopong sina Jovi Miroy at Ron Capinding. Lundagin mo, baby! Leaping upward, leaping forward. Lundagin mo, baby! Leaping to greater heights, to greater wisdom, to greater magis. Lundag na, Ateneo! Radyo Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo Katipunan, down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo Katipunan, the voice of the Blue Eagle. The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.
And we're back here at the Jesuit Hour. I'm your host, Father Nono Alfonso SJ. And this morning we have our distinguished guest, Father Peter Pojol, SJ of the East Asia Pastoral Institute. Father, yung EAPI, in terms of the work of the Jesuits, the universal work of the Jesuits, how do you see EAPI? What's its role in fulfilling the Jesuit mission in the world today?
Sounds so big, no? But because EAPI works with pastoral workers, who come from everywhere, and only a few are Jesuits who actually come to EAPI. Currently, we have one from India, and then next program we have another one from Vietnam who will join us. But we serve people who are from many religious congregations, some from dioceses. Because we work with pastoral workers, I really see the role of EAPI as enabling or empowering pastoral workers everywhere. So if we talk about multiplier effect, EAPI is really doing that. And these are people who are active in the church and who would like to see growth and renewal in the church. So we give them the opportunity to retool, to update, and to go back energized energized, no, in
So
their
kumbaga
ministry.
yung the Jesuit support for the
Yes,
church, ano?
yes,
Yung ating thinking with the church, empowering the church. Let me just tell you, Father, mga Katipuneros, like Jesuit Communications, every now and then we give sessions on communication skills, and grabe, yun nga yung sinabi niyo, Father, na yung iba sa kanila takot pa sa computer, di ba? Yung so talagang beginning from scratch talaga na how to turn on, turn off. Kasi tagal na sila in their pastoral work, pero they've never had a chance to retool themselves at digital age na, no? So,
or even in the module that JESCOM that you guys give, no, at EAPI in our programs, many of them tell me that they're very grateful, no, for even just the opportunity to be taught how to speak in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Things like that we take for granted, but many of these cultures, they're very different cultures. Tayo, we're so used to maybe we're more extroverted as a culture, but many other cultures are not, no?
Talaga.
So for them, this is really eye-opening. This is a learning opportunity.
Thank you for the feedback, Father. Next naman. Narinig mo yung Kang? Sabi ni Kang, bossings may S, kasama raw ako. Thank you, Kang. Okay. Pero yun, so talagang we are, through API, you are able to empower the churches in Asia. That's a big, Father, that's a big contribution. Yes. Okay. So, but let's talk about the challenges. So, Father, you mentioned fundraising.
Yes.
You do fundraising as a director.
Yes.
But why? Why do you need that large amount of funding?
So many of our participants, when they come to our programs, they're residential programs, so they live with us, and therefore it's not exactly cheap. No? I mean, you have to cover for room and board, and then the facilitators, the modules, all of that. No? So it's like tuition and room and board together.
But don't they pay for that?
Well, so we charge a fee, but as you can expect, many of these, because they come from churches that are challenged, that are themselves financially facing very financially difficult situations, they also need help.
Yes.
And so we offer plenty of scholarships, no? Partial scholarships. No? And to be able to give those scholarships, I have to have a fund. No? And when EAPI started, the Jesuits who started it, many who came from Europe, had their own friends and contacts.
Sila naman ang mayayaman eh.
Yes. So
Euros.
At that time, wala pang Euros. So they came from Germany, Austria. So then they put together a big fund. But over the years, that fund has been depleted. And so now I rely on funding agencies, one in Germany and another one also in Europe that we look to regularly for support. So now, if we want this sustainable, then I have to do more for fundraising.
Wala bang tulong yung FABC? Diba? Asian bishops. Baka sila rin ang humingi.
Sila rin humingi.
So, you have to, Father, diba? You have to pay for the faculty as well, yung staff, diba? And, yun nga, yung board and lodging. So, yan, tulungan po natin ang EAPI. In fact, isingit lang natin, Father, you have a fundraising event coming up, right?
So, coming up on August 4, it's a testimonial dinner in honor of Father Adolfo Nicolas.
Former general.
Former general of the Society of Jesus, who before he was general, actually 40 years ago, he was EAPI director.
Oh, ilang taon?
40 years ago. He was 1978. He started his term
for how long?
6 years.
6 years.
He was 6 years director of EAPI. And then after being director of EAPI, he became provincial superior of Japan. And then eventually became president of the conference. At that time, not yet Asia Pacific. It was called East Asia and Oceania. And then became superior general. No?
Yes.
But after being superior general, he asked to return to Manila, and while here in Manila, he offered his services to EAPI again.
Wow.
Because, and of course, when I took over at EAPI, I had the wonderful privilege of spending more time with him. He would spend 2 days in a week with us. No?
Wow.
Stay there, live there,
Talk to the students,
have meals with us, and then he would offer spiritual direction to our participants.
Wow.
So swerte nila, imagine former superior general ang kanilang spiritual director, no? So, and in the course of living with him and having him in our meetings, I discovered not just how passionately he feels about EAPI and
the Church in Asia, of course.
And institutes that attend to the pastoral needs, parang the needs on the ground.
Yeah.
And so he now that he is about to leave the Philippines to return to Japan, it's very timely that we honor him, and he's also very happy that this also becomes an opportunity, an occasion to raise funds for EAPI.
Yes.
So this is a fundraising event for an EAPI endowment fund.
Where will dinner be, Father?
So the dinner will be here at the Arete.
Wow,
Inside.
social.
Syempre, bago. So we will use it. It has a very nice space on the 4th floor, of Arete.
Is there something significant with the date, August 4?
No, nothing significant. Just that
pinatay na pare dyan, o missionary.
Well, it's the birthday of Father Roger Shampoo.
Okay.
One of our...
That's significant enough.
Yes, one of our board of trustees, no? And members of our board of trustees. And also, he was a former full-time staff of EAPI himself, Father Roger. So, on August 4 will be that dinner. And the dinner is actually hosted by both the Philippine province of the Society of Jesus and Jesuit Conference of Asia Pacific.
Okay, so if people would like to be part of that dinner, Father, or help you,
so if they can contact EAPI
here at the Ateneo.
At the Ateneo. So then, of course, it's a fundraising event, no? So
magkano ba yung per plate? Ganun yan, di ba?
Yeah, so we...
Pero it's for a very good cause,
yes.
very noble cause. We are supporting the Church in Asia. Yes, when you donate. Yes.
Yeah, it's for the growing church nga all over Asia.
Kasi pag nakita talaga nila, Father, no, kasi kami nga Jesuit Communications, we have been privileged to kumbaga impart with them what we know, di ba? And it's really a great privilege to be able to contribute to their knowledge and so on and so forth. Nakakatulong po talaga. Okay, so please, August 4. Ano po yan? Anong araw yan, Father? Would you know?
It's a Saturday.
Saturday night at the Arete. If you want to be part of that, if you want to help empower the Church in Asia, please donate or please be part of that dinner. Hanapin nyo lang po ang EAPI dito sa Ateneo de Manila University. Sa mga Ateneo Alumni Associations, Canada and US of A, if you want to donate, yes, you can send your donations to EAPI here at the Ateneo. Yun. Okay. So, si Ojen Gaya Panaw ay nakikinig rin po, nanonood sa atin. So, Father, are there future projects or do you have plans you're working on for EAPI? Ano yung mga holy, di ba sabi ni Father Archie Intengan, mga holy desires natin?
Well, we are also, because I'm new, we are also in the process of putting together a group to help reflect on the situation of the church in Asia and the Pacific, to help maybe identify directions, identify what greater needs we need to address. So until we actually have that, I cannot really talk about specific plans. But the most urgent is obviously the fundraising, so and then renovations.
So meron kayong strategic planning.
Yes,
na gagawin.
something like that.
Especially ngayon, Father, di ba usong-uso pinapatay yung mga pare. I wonder though, yung mga missionaries na nandyan sa API and they've heard of this spate of killings. Anong reaction nila, Father? Ay, sa amin, natural lang yan. That's normal.
Well, I also try to keep them informed, no? And they sympathize with us. No? They know it's not easy. They, as you already mentioned, no, that they also face similar situations, no? And it's something that they pray also with our church here. They hope that things can improve.
Father, can I ask you mga personal questions?
Sure.
Personal questions like, for example, Father, don't you miss teaching at the LST? Si Father Peter Pojol actually went to the U.S. to study moral theology as a PhD in moral theology, and he was Dean ba, Father, Executive Secretary?
So
of
it's
LST.
it's the Dean, but the formal title is Vice President for Academic Affairs.
Yes. So don't you miss?
Well, I miss
you don't
LST
teach anymore.
So when I started at the API, I told myself I needed some time to learn API. So, and I also discovered that my schedule would take me out of Manila on long stretches, no? So, which would have been very difficult for teaching something. So I gave myself a year off. But then this coming school year, I had agreed to return to teaching in the college, Ateneo College.
College.
Because they're offering, because of K-12, they're offering effectively 2 tracks, no? An old curriculum and a new curriculum, and that's very difficult for the theology department of the Ateneo, the Loyola School. So they asked, they pleaded for help. So I'm helping there. I'm teaching only 1 class though, no? But I do look forward to returning to teaching at LST. Once my schedule stabilizes, no, and I become much more familiar with the work at the API, I think I should be able to return to teaching at least 1 class. No?
Father, sabi mo, your schedule will pull you out of Manila every now and then. Well, what does it mean? You're able to travel?
Because sometimes
you go to these countries.
So, for instance, I mentioned that we do have a partner in Myanmar, in Myitkyina. So last November, I visited them, and then again, I will have to visit them. So they're officially our partner institution. No? So
kasama ka sa consultancy.
Parang ganyan, So and because I'm new, it's important for me to introduce myself to our partners. No, so soon I will have to make a trip also to Papua New Guinea. No, so for that, and then there are also the trips that are necessitated by working with funding agencies.
Yes.
So I will have to visit them because I'm new. So and also these funding agencies always try to emphasize collaboration among the institutes that they help. No? So for instance, this funding agency in Germany, they help many institutions all over Asia, and annually they organize a meeting of these institutes. So we are meeting again in early November, late October. So things like that. No?
So
they take me out. Yeah.
What about, Father, itong sarili mong biyahe? After ordination, you were assigned here at JESCOM, and then you studied abroad, and came back for LST and now EAPI. Hindi ka ba nahihilo? Paiba-iba yung trabaho mo. Kasi paiba-iba, di ba? Communications, tapos theology, and then ngayon, pastoral formation. Any reflection?
Well, hindi naman nakakahilo. Although, parang nakakapanghinayang siguro that, especially when I was at LST, I aside from teaching, I got involved in administration. No? So, and I was assigned as dean or vice president for academic affairs for only a year. No? The intention when they appointed me was for 6 years. But then, as sometimes happens, no, things change and circumstances change, and a need is greater elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I was pulled out, pulled out of being dean, and then moved to EAPI. So I do miss. Of course, I also spent a lot of time learning, no, the job. And so I regret not being able to apply the lessons I learned on the job. I had to leave right away. But I think, as you also know, that's really part of our life.
Yeah, so talagang paiba-iba ng mission.
Yeah, so.
Pero kumpara, Father, sa LST, of course, in terms of administration work, mas maliit yung API, no? But you have to raise funds.
Yeah, well...
Pero mas marami kasing estudyante ng LST, 400.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Number of students, the LST is much bigger, no? And maybe...
But the curricula are already set.
Also, because it's a school, there are many structures that are kind of fixed and in place. So, of course, there's always the challenge of making sure that it's running well. And there are also plenty of faculty whom we work with at LST. But at EAPI, the very big difference is it's a residential community, no? So it's not just
24 hours.
24 hours. So kung merong nagkasakit, nako, nagiging problema ko rin, no? I have to I haven't had to myself bring them to the hospital, but sometimes there are those accidents, no, or needs that arise, or someone needs to suddenly return home to their sending country, so I have to find a way, or trying to make sure that the food is agreeable to everyone. Those things, I didn't have to worry about that at LST, no? So, iba talaga, it's and because I live with them, the bonds are also deeper, no? Not like with students, no?
Pero Father, parang improvement every time. Tingnan mo, from JESCOM, tapos LST, tapos ngayon, Asia ka na, Pacific, International ka na sa EAPI. Mamaya niyan, sa Rome ka na.
No, I don't think so.
Who wants to go
pero
to Rome?
LST, 1/3 na rin ng LST is international, hindi Filipino. So actually, I think the big contribution of the Philippines, and in particular Manila, to the church in Asia has to be recognized. We're a hub for formation.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Father, sa ilang sandali na lamang po, would you like to impart any message to our viewers, listeners, aside from our appeal? Mamaya ulitin po natin yung appeal natin for the August 4 dinner.
Yeah. So, siguro, just to repeat that the church is vibrant everywhere, no? And maybe I ask that people pray for especially churches that face enormous challenges, no? And enormous difficulties. So we have a special role to play, here in the Philippines for the church.
Yes.
And therefore, and we also have much to learn, from this openness, this eagerness for dialogue that I find in many of these churches in Asia and the Pacific.
Okay. So, yan po ang trabaho ni Father Peter Paul, EAPI. So, sa mga estudyante, mga katipuneros, pag nakakita kayo ng mga taga-ibang bansa palakad-lakad sa campus.
Sa amin yan.
Diba? Wonder no more. They are from EAPI.
And we're just behind Bellarmine, no?
Yes.
Bellarmine Hall.
Estudyante ni Father Peter Paul. Father, we have a game here. Sa parang Boy Abunda game.
Ano yung Boy Abunda game?
Ganito lang yan, Father. You just give me one-word descriptions of the following. One word.
Oh, no.
Okay, one word description. Whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
EAPI.
Creative.
Creative.
Yeah.
Okay. Asia.
Wide.
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 Yeah.
Okay. The Jesuits in the Philippines.
Old.
You feel old. And finally, Father Peter Pojol. One word description.
Small.
Nax. Maraming salamat, Father.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
More power
you,
to your
Father
work.
Nono.
And once again, sa mga nais pong tumulong sa EAPI, sa mission ng EAPI, helping empowering the church in Asia, August 4 is the fundraising dinner to be held at the Arete. Yes. Okay, so if you want to help, please send your donations, your assistance to EAPI here at the Ateneo de Manila University. Okay, maraming salamat po mga Katipuneros. Until tomorrow, this is Father Nono Alfonso SJ, and this has been the Jesuit Hour.
The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.